Hello to all dear students. In this video, we are going to discuss about the topic population and sample. Now, I want you to take a role of a researcher as an investigator, and you have been put in charge of answering a question that what percentage of Indians support tobacco chewing? And now you quickly run into a problem like how could you possibly ask every Indian this question? It would be too time consuming and it could be too expensive too. Just imagine you are trying to track down about 1.4 million people and it's near to impossible. So what you do is suppose someone suggested you to engage sampling. But what is sampling now? How does it work? What are the different types of sampling? Well, that's what we are talking about today. So let us start by breaking down two fundamental concepts. What is the difference between a population and a sample? Now, let us start with a population. Population represent the entire set of something that you wish to study, and the reason we use the word something is because the population could be many different things. Your population, for example, might be all the people living in a specific city. It could be all the men or all the women or all the newborn babies, and your population can also be a specific thing or objects. Maybe your population is all the cars on the road and you want to know how many of them are battery operated. Okay. So, a population can be defined as including all people or items with the characteristic one wishes to understand. Because there is very rarely enough time and money to gather information from everyone or everything in a population, the goal becomes finding a representative sample of the population. Fine. Now, a population can vary in size. You can have a giant population. It could be entire size of a country, for example, India, gigantic. Or a population can be as small as a nursing home. Maybe you want to know or you want to do a research study on aging and you visit a nursing home. That's your population. Or your population could be as small as a classroom consisting of 50 preschoolers. So, the population can vary in many different ways, subgroups, things, but also it may vary in size. Next important thing is a population is represented by a capital letter N. So you ever see a capital letter N equals to and a number, they are referring to the population. So then it becomes what is our sample? The sample is a part of our population or it is a subset of a population and it is represented by a small letter n. Okay, capital N represents our population and small n represents our sample. Now, you might be thinking why to have a sample in first place? Like if I am handling a survey, why not just give it to everybody in my population? Well, if it's a classroom, that's pretty manageable. But if I am trying to hand out a survey of 1.4 million people, it's difficult to almost nearly impossible. So, because of that, we take a small percentage of the population and that becomes our sample or a specific number of people in our sample becomes our sample size. And if you really have a good sample, okay, in other words, if the sample is representative of the population in terms of age and educational background and income, and we'll dive into a representation in a moment, you can draw an inference about the population. So I can draw inference, meaning I can draw conclusion. For instance, if I have a really good sample, I don't necessarily need to ask everybody. I only need a small percentage. So now let us come back to our investigation question like what percentage of Indians support tobacco chewing? So now you say, what would be our population? So now I bet a lot of you are thinking, well, it's all the Indians, right? All the Indians will be our population, isn't it? So we need to ask this question to all the Indians. But are we sure? Like, are you sure? Like, will you ask this question to small babies? Can you ask this question to toddlers? When you think about it that way, our population is actually not the entire India. We are going to see our population, everybody over the age of 18, because they can give consent and they can actually answer our question. So, for our purpose, our population is everybody over the age of 18, and that could be roughly about a million Indians. I feel like doing awesome power, like 1 million Indians, and our lower case, that is our sample, will select around 2000 people. Okay, and I am kind of just making it up, but you might be thinking you can have 2000 people and generalize your result to an entire country. Well, you can if it's a good sample. And what good sample means, we will cover it in a next few moment. Okay, so our entire India will be our target population. Target population means the entire set of Indians who have characteristics required by the researchers. But we are not going to ask this question to small babies or newborn babies or toddlers. No doubt they are Indian, but they are not suitable for asking such kind of question, for such kind of survey. So above 18 years age adults, so this will be our study population, right? So target population, and next is our study population, means it is a subset of the target population consisting of those individuals who are accessible to be recruited as participants in the study. And next will be our sample, which we will select among the study population, right? So sample means it is a subset of accessible population consisting of those individuals who are selected to participate in the research study. Next thing is sampling. Sampling means the process of selecting a number of individuals for a study in such a way that the individuals represent the larger group from which they were selected. Here in sample we have got two types of sample, large sample and small sample. Large sample means the sample size is greater than 30. Small sample means here the sample size will be 30 or less than 30. Next, the value of a statistic obtained from the sample can be taken as an estimate of the population parameter. But in case of small sample, the value of a statistic obtained from the sample cannot be taken as an estimate of the population parameter. Right? Because whenever you are doing some kind of statistical study, among a population, and if suppose we are studying a population of India, which is a huge population with huge number of variation, like we have got different types of people, we have got different age group people, different religion people, different income people, so everyone have got different point of view. So for such a huge population, for representing such a huge population, we want somewhat bigger sample, and more bigger the sample, more will be the accuracy in the result. So for that reason, in large sample the value obtained will be like statistically obtained will be important as compared to small sample. Next, for large sample, normal distribution is used for testing, whereas for small sample, sampling distribution like T, F, etc. is used for testing. Next, sampling can be of two types, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Now what these are? First of all, I'll talk about the second one, the non-probability sampling. It is often based on the idea of convenience, like who is around me make this easier. You are close to me, alright, so you could be my study. This is what we call this convenience sampling, or maybe it's a volunteer. I want to be in your study. Well, that is easy, but what we really want to focus is the probability sampling. because that is based on chance. And the reason why this is important is every member in the population has an equal chance to be in your study, and that way we can account for individual differences among groups, age, gender, race, and everybody is accounted for. You can make a better inference from the sample to the population. Next, in probability sampling, we have got four types: random sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, and cluster sampling. Whereas non probability sampling are of three types: convenience sampling, judgmental sampling, and quota sampling. Okay, so this was all for this video. In my next video, I'll be talking about the random sampling. I hope you find this video helpful. Thank you for watching.